Cuba is music and baseball and antique cars and breathtaking beaches with crystal clear ocean. But look beneath the surface and Cuba is much, much more. An island country 90 miles off the coast of Florida with a complicated history with the United States.
I don't ambition power, money, nothing.
Before Fidel Castro, the revolution of 1959, and communism, Cuba was actually a hotspot for Americans. But things turned ugly. The 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis pushed the U.S. and the Soviet Union, which brought nuclear weapons to Cuba, to the brink of nuclear war. Despite some improvements in U.S.-Cuba relations, there's still tension. The U.S. State Department warning Americans in March against traveling to Cuba due to attacks allegedly targeting U.S. Embassy employees.
The tourists that I like the most is the American people, because they are friendly, they like to know about the history.
Diane Gutierrez gives visitors tours of Havana in his 1957 Chrysler Windsor convertible.
Now we are in Malecon. Malecon is probably the most famous avenue in Cuba.
Like many Cubans, Gutierrez is well educated. College is free here, subsidized by the Cuban government.
Actually, I'm graduated from mechanical engineering.
But Gutierrez isn't working as an engineer. He can make more money doing this.
The best salaries are the ones related to tourism. So for that reason, I decided to work as a taxi driver, and I quit doing engineering things, you know. One day it's supposed to change. In the meantime, I'm driving.
In this socialist country, the average Cuban only makes about $20 a month. Professor Syra Pons is with the Center for the Study of the Cuban Economy at the University of Havana.
You have certain kind of needs covered. You have health care. You have actually the ration card that is a guarantee of a certain amount of rice and bread and beans and things like that.
But Pons says the Cuban economy is struggling, in part because of the United States embargo on all trade with Cuba. The embargo is aimed at pressuring the Cuban government into democracy.
We are losing lots of money in terms of trade, in terms, of course, of investment.
Here in Cuba, the U.S. embargo is known as the blockade, and it's not unusual for the blockade to come up in conversations with Cubans. That's because the impact of it is all around them.
Nuestro niño hace alrededor de un año le diagnosticaron un cáncer.
The Cuban government paid for cancer treatment for 6-year-old Brian Rodriguez. His parents are grateful. His prognosis is good. But they turn to friends from other countries to send them modern IVs for Brian's treatment that aren't available in Cuba.
Muchos americanos no conocen la intensidad del bloqueo y lo que le afecta a la población cubana. ¿Por qué razón? Muchos niños que padecen estas enfermedades como la que padece mi hijo se ven afectados por la deficiencia que hay en cuanto a medicamentos, en cuanto a materiales para poder trabajar en los hospitales.
Those antique cars are everywhere in Cuba for a reason, not because of their charm, but because of trade restrictions. Mechanics have to get creative to maintain the old vehicles because most parts and tools can't be imported.
A diferencia de un mecánico en La Habana, un mecánico de otro lugar, es que el mecánico de La Habana no tiene nada y los de otro lugar tienen todo. Y nosotros tenemos que inventarlo todo y en otros lugares cambiar simplemente piezas viejas por piezas nuevas. Aquí.
But perhaps nothing underscores the impact of the U.S. embargo on Cuba more than the May plane crash of a Cuban domestic flight that killed 112 people. The plane was revving its engines to take off, but it couldn't, he says. That plane was nearly 40 years old, leased to Cuba by a Mexican company, a common arrangement because the U.S. does not sell planes to Cuba.
I have come here to bury the last remnant of the Cold War in the Americas.
In 2016, President Obama visited Cuba as part of an ongoing effort to normalize relations with the country. But the alleged sonic attacks against U.S. Embassy workers and their families ratcheted up tensions again. Professor Corella Costa is with the Havana University Center for the Study of the Western Hemisphere in the United States.
So the momentum was lost. There were some new restrictions, and people were discouraged to travel to Cuba.
Back in Old Havana, the music and the dancing, drowning out the political back and forth. Tour guide Gutierrez says from his perspective, the relationship between Cubans and Americans remains strong.
If we talk about the people of Cuba and the people of the United States, we have never had a problem.
Yeah, it's a remarkable, a beautiful, a very complex place. And I'm curious where we are now. You were there in May, June. Where we are now with the State Department in terms of advising Americans about traveling there.
Right. There was actually a change just last month. The State Department upgrading the travel advisory, now saying exercise increased caution instead of reconsider traveling. So they seem to be not as concerned about Americans going there, but still not saying it's no problem.
And the sonic attacks, they were actually back in the news this week. Any update on that?
Just yesterday, actually, U.S. and Cuban officials meeting in Washington. There's a lot of back and forth. The Cubans still aren't satisfied even after those meetings. They believe the U.S. government is withholding some information, including patient records.
So a bit of a stalemate there. All right.